Hey, what's going on? It's Reggie with the Basic Black Podcast. I wanted to get on real quick, and I know I don't want to make things too long because when you make things too long, you kind of lose interest. What I wanted to talk about today is, getting into the beginning of October. We have Domestic Violence Awareness Month. Now, we all know pretty much so the theme of it, and I decided for once, this is the first time I've done this, but I want to come on and I want to provide some context from a male standpoint. Now, I know that people are not going to really agree with this because we know as a community and we know just how men are perceived when we speak out. It's not usually received the most positive way. Now, as well, let me start off with this. Myself, associates, and all other employees and contractors associated with Basic Black Productions, that being the Basic Black Podcast, the Tesla Bruh, the Paintball Bruh, and all the other projects that I work with, do not condone any form of domestic violence, men, women, regardless. Now, with that out of the way, the reason I come forth, because let me give you a quick insight what happens when you're on the other side of it. A number of years ago, I'll probably say in the neighborhood of between 3 to 5 years, I was going through a divorce. And I thought things were better than what I perceived to be true. So, going through the process of divorce, you're going to have, difference of opinion within raising children. You're going to have difference of opinion with how things are going to happen with the family structure, with finances, the whole nine. It was a marriage of 20 plus years. Now, um, I'm out of the home. My now ex-wife um, files for divorce twice, actually. She filed once, and then, we tried to work things out. And then she canceled the first one, and then she filed a second time. And that was the divorce file that stayed. We had a minor child involved, so obviously we had to go through everything with the child welfare system, which, let me be clear, is truly a mess. It's not fair. It's so biased towards fathers that want to be present in their children's lives that it's harmful and hurtful to say the least. I like to thank the all the men and women with the many different father advocacy programs that I have had the chance to work with, to the good amount of people that I've spoken to and who's heard my story, who's been on my Facebook, and oh my God, if you've been on it, you've kind of seen how things has went. But I digress, and let me go back to the theme of domestic violence and how it affected me, and still affects me actually. When you're going through a divorce, you should expect anything. When you're going through divorce, you should expect the best and worst out of people. Now, I was out the house. I basically moved, and I had my residence in Chandler. At that point, my now ex-wife never lived with me at that residence, not one day. Never been inside of it. Well, when you start to live again and date again and whatnot, feelings get, I would say, involved. And in the process of me dating again and starting over again and just starting to live and work on health and work on finance and everything along with it, let's just say it had to be jealousy. Nothing more, nothing less. So when things weren't going completely the way of my now ex wife, she used the greatest tool to really ruin the life of somebody. As a matter of fact, I'm gonna go ahead and say it. She did it twice. Once to me, and another individual who she was dating after we were divorced. I'll leave him nameless because he was a bum anyway. But regardless of that, um, this is what happened. So I'm at home one Saturday and I get a knock on the door. And it's actually three officers from Chandler Police Department. And when I open the door, they are in shooting formation. And if you wonder what I mean by shooting formation, imagine that I'm the person in the door, you're the officer. There's one officer looking directly at me. There's another officer back to the left, and there's another officer back to the right. Basically, three clear lines of sight on me. At that point, their guns were not drawn, but um, they were at the ready, to say the least. Now, I'm shocked. I'm trying to figure out what the hell is going on and whatnot, and they were coming to throw me out of my own house. The house that had the lease, that had it was solely in my name, and it was just my place. And I questioned the officers. I'm like, why are you guys here? Now, and the reason they told me, well, we're serving you with we're serving you and we're removing you from the home because we received a word from the court that says there's a protective order now being placed on you saying that you are violent, you have abused your wife, and that time, not, it's my ex-wife now, but you have abused her, she's scared for her life, and you have firearms in the home and she resides with you. That's it. And at that point, without even having any proof, they were there to remove me from my home. And that was very, very, very tragic and traumatic for me, and I wasn't ready. But luckily, one of the officers that I was talking to remembered me from another incident where I had questions about visitation and what should I do if I can't have my court-appointed visitation time with my son. If there was a difficulty with his mother, what should I do? And yeah, and I'm sorry, this is not really scripted, so I'm kind of talking off the cuff. So what ended up happening was I convinced the officer that my now ex-wife did not live there. She never lived there, and I was able to remain in my home. I was immediately told that any firearms that I do have, I have to surrender them and turn them into either a police department or another or sheriff's department. And just to put it in context, I do have my CCW, my consent to carry, but I did comply with the order. I did surrender my CCW firearm and the two other firearms that I did have in possession at my home. Now, they ended up, when I say they, the police ended up at my house, and it was because it wasn't because they didn't try, because obviously when you have somebody who's jealous and they want to embarrass you, the first thing she did was make sure they went to my job. Yeah, they went to my job, and wasn't working that day, but I remember coming in the next day. I saw an email saying, Mr. Jackson, that law enforcement was here looking for you, but you were not available, so we informed them. Okay. So, I heard that. I went ahead and I notified my supervisors to let them know what was going on, that I'm going through a pretty bad divorce, and here's the situation. But now, going back, now with having this order of protection placed on me, and I have to go get it quashed in the courts, I had to, well, I didn't have to, but I wanted to be as transparent as I could with my employer. So I went ahead and gave them all the information. I was basically told, if this order sticks, that you are going to be terminated. Now, did I do it? Of course not. Was I ever violent towards my ex-wife? No. But it didn't matter. All you have to do is just go down to the courts, file a piece of paper, put your right hand up, and swear that the information you're giving is truth and factual. There you go. They got the order and they were looking for me. Now, as frustrating as that is, I had to basically fight for my life. I basically went down to the courts and I expressed I do not agree with this. There was reasons why I don't agree with it. Number one, she lied. We don't reside in the same home together. And that was a lie that she clearly put on the paperwork to kind of make this even worse. Number two, she went ahead and stated that there was firearms, which there was, but she was scared for her life because they were there. So how can you be scared of firearms in a home you don't reside in? Okay, so I got my day in court. Went to court. In the excuse me, the judge was Susan G. White, Judge White, and we had our day in court. I was there. My ex-wife was there, and we went over everything. The question to the ex was, okay, well, Mr. Jackson states that you do not reside with him. Can you show proof that you do? Nope, there wasn't any. What I ended up doing was I went ahead and I brought my lease. I brought all my information for utilities and whatnot, and I went ahead and I showed that in court. Matter of fact, I went ahead and even had information about the lease where my ex-wife lived at, because before we were divorced and we were separated, I actually helped her with paperwork and whatnot for the apartment that she resided in at that time. There was questions about contact, and there wasn't any, because one of the things in our divorce decree, which clearly stated there was no domestic violence, that I did not want to have any contact with my ex-wife unless it was for an emergency. So if she needed to contact me, she would have to send me an email, or if it was an emergency, she could reach out or whatever way. But I had her phone number blocked. So her claims of me harassing her and calling her, no. Was there text messages? No. Was there any police reports? No. Pictures, evidence? No. Absolutely nothing. But I went and I fought, and the case was immediately dismissed. Matter of fact, once the case was dismissed, my ex stated in court, so what do I have to do to get an order of protection to stick to him? Yeah, that's what she said. Can I get an order of protection to stick to Mr. Jackson? What do I have to do? Since this one didn't work, what do I have to do? Okay. Well, the judge wasn't too thrilled about that. She didn't want to hear that. She basically told my ex to go ahead and leave. She requested that Judge White requested that I stay in the courtroom. I was, sitting down on my side of the court, that I would wait 10, 15 minutes for her to leave, and then I could leave. Obviously, it's for security reasons, whatever. So that ended up happening, and I spoke to Judge White, and believe it or not, I was actually granted an order of protection against my ex-wife because of this. Because after this bogus claim, there was a threat that this could happen again, or she could try something again, and I just wanted her to be out of my space. Now, my order of protection stayed. It stayed in place. It stayed in effect for the full year, and it was never dismissed. It just basically expired. But I had to deal with so much with going through that, because it wasn't enough that you have to go through. You have to fight and get all this dismissed, but you have to deal with the backlash. And the backlash is the people associated with the ex. I had to deal with anybody who've heard that story, family, friends, fraternity members, or whatever. The whole thing. Oh my God, I can't believe you beat somebody. Oh my God, you're an abuser and you're this, that, and other. And they spread that story like wildfire. And it caused great damage, and it continues to cause great damage, because there were a number of individuals that I used to work with. There was a number of individuals that I did social media projects with, whatever was going on, that I didn't even get the time of day with some people. They just said, well, you know what, we just got to wash our hands of you, and we're sorry. Or I just basically got ghosted or blocked or whatever or whatnot. But then trying to have this done through my employment caused other issues. other things of grief. So just because you have a piece of paper that says dismissed, and which I do, I carry it around on my phone in case there's anything that comes up, you still live with it. You still have the stigma of being called an abuser, that you did all this when in actuality you didn't. The courts prove you didn't. But in the court of public opinion, they automatically lean towards the woman's statement. And regardless how right I am or how right any other man that would be in this position, and there are so many that are, we're still being held to the accusations that were said. I'm not an abuser. I did not abuse her. And it's ironic that this story of abuse, she still shares it. She still speaks of it to the point to where I had to file a cease and desist order against not just her, but a number of either family or associates that basically kept pushing this lie forward. So imagine you get cleared by the courts, but you have to fight everything else. It doesn't go away. It stuck to me. And if I was an abuser, which I'm not, and this all made sense, then I would have to be okay, well, I accept it and I'm wrong. But that wasn't the case. Even right in the eyes of public opinion, you're still wrong. So on this start of October, being domestic violence awareness month, I ask people to try to be a little bit more objective before passing judgment. Try to ask the difficult questions. Try to understand the situation before you condemn somebody. I know that I was there, and it still affects me today. I wanted to share that because I feel that there will be stories come up again because when this time of the month rolls around, the year, excuse me, rolls around, I know it's coming. And it's heartbreaking that people can't just let things go that never happen and be adults when they need to be, but it's not guaranteed. It's hurtful and it's harmful, and I just ask that everyone who's listening to this, please, 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 please recognize the domestic awareness abuse month or anything that they have to do with it. Women should not be in fear of their lives. Men should not be in fear of their life. They should not have threats of loss of income, loss of their life. But also, the ones that do this, what happened to me, should be held accountable. You would think that she went into court and she made completely false statements. She basically perjured herself in court, and something should happen. No, nothing happened. There was no, you committed perjury, you've caused harm, and done all of this. No, it didn't happen. But I know, and years have taught me that being quiet doesn't help. Tell your story. Share what's happened to you. I'm thankful for the ones that made it to the end of this, and it's just really a quick blurb for the Basic Black Podcast. I thank you, and I hope that if you have any questions or anything that might be on your mind, please reach out. We're going to have some more podcasts coming out soon. We also are starting to advertise more. You'll start to see our dad, father mentor shirts that is also in that's in support of the many fathers that are fighting in the family court system and trying to have some tools and just support to be able to get them through this system. It's not fair. But I ask that you be fair when thinking of the people that are caught in it. I thank you for your time. I thank you for all your love, support, and caring. As you know, my name is Reginald Jackson. This is the Basic Black Podcast, and I'm out. Have a good evening, everybody.